Fallon welcomes Megan Thee Stallion. NBC Tonight.
Next test is a ride-along. If you pass, you get to be a shiny new detective. We use leverage. Either she cooperates or we take her kid. This is your only shot.
It doesn't mean there still isn't a better way.
Chicago PD, new November 6th on NBC and Peacock.
A girl was assaulted and there was bruising on her neck.
He imitated what he saw online.
What, like a video?
2 more in 2 days. This is not a coincidence.
SVU, Thursday on NBC and
Live from Rhinelander, this is News Watch 12 at 10, the Northwoods' best news, with Jessica Jukic, Chief Meteorologist Jeff Weller, and Saul Meyer with sports. News from where you live starts now.
Good evening, I'm Jessica Jukic. The Lactive Lambeau tribal president sent a letter to the LDF town chairman saying the 4 roads barricaded in January of last year will be blocked again unless the town pays all outstanding access fees. In a separate letter, the tribe threatened closures of more roads. The tribe said the town has not proven that it has a valid right-of-way for 3 more roads crossing tribal lands, including all of the Head Flyer Lake Lane and parts of North Indian Village Road and Indian Village Road. If the town doesn't stop maintenance by November 18th, Johnson said the tribe would consider it an unauthorized trespass and exercise its rights under federal regulation, which could include evicting the town from those lands. That's according to reporting by WPR. The body of a missing Anago man was found earlier in the town of Rawling. 34-year-old Matthew Howard was reported missing by his sister on Sunday after not hearing from her brother since Saturday morning. On Tuesday, police were able to locate Howard's vehicle in a forested area south of the city. Anago police and Langlade County sheriffs were able to locate Howard's body in the area after 2 days of searching. The cause of his death is still under investigation. A Wisconsin man accused of drunk driving was arrested after his vehicle headed toward Vice President Kamala Harris's motorcade. Police stopped the 55-year-old man who was driving his SUV on the wrong side of Interstate 94 Monday night in Milwaukee. Deputies say they saw an open container of alcohol inside the car and took the driver into custody after conducting sobriety tests. There were no injuries from the incident, and the U.S. Secret Service spokesperson says the agency is aware of the matter. Chase, a cooler day today.
Yeah, definitely a big change around here for temperatures. We had a little bit of rain last night, but that was not the main factor. As we were just talking about, temperatures was the big thing. And we saw only some 50s for highs today. And right now, we are in the 30s. Last night, we were in the 50s, which is what our highs were for today. So definitely much cooler in town, showing 31 in Eagle River. A little bit warmer in Minocqua at 35. Some areas still around 40 degrees, but still it is going to be a cool night for tonight with those clear skies and calm winds. As we can see, the dew points are a lot drier as well. We're in the 20s for dew points right now. So this is what our temperature could get to for tonight, but we do have some warm air making its way back into our area overnight tonight. So we might not get as low as we think we will for tonight. As we go into tomorrow, going to be a little bit warmer back into those right around the low 60s for tomorrow. We do have increasing cloud cover though, so that may hinder the temperatures just a little bit, but looks like the sun may be out a little bit longer by Adams County, where they can get up to right around 65 degrees for tomorrow. As we take a look ahead into tonight, we can see those temperatures showing them right around the 30s throughout the night tonight, but still our forecast low is right around 28 degrees with those mostly clear skies and calm winds. Jessica?
Just hours after Green Bay's City Council weighed in on its dispute with the Packers over the Lambeau Field lease agreement, the team responded with a new proposal. The Packers called the offer arguably the most taxpayer-friendly in all of sports, according to a statement from the organization. The new agreement includes a rental increase agreement, and that extended lease includes the current rent escalator the city requested and extends it by 30 years. The Packers will invest $1.5 billion into Lambeau Field, and taxpayers will have no obligation in that investment.
Providing an offer that requires taxpayers to take a cut while the fans have shown up for their organization time and time again is not the way to move negotiations forward. We must start from a place of good faith where taxpayers feel valued in this discussion. We can only assume this adversarial approach is meant to unfairly turn the public opinion against the mayor and the city.
Lambeau Field's current lease is set to expire in 2032 with an option for 2 5-year extensions. More than 97,000 people in Wisconsin cast absentee ballots in person on the first day that they could. Yesterday, so many Wisconsinites voted that some polling sites had long lines made worse by an overwhelmed ballot processing system. The Wisconsin Elections Commission reported Wednesday that 97,000 people voted in person on Tuesday. That's up from 80,000 who cast ballots on opening day of in-person voting in 2020. But absentee voting by mail is way down this election cycle from 2020. The 35th Assembly District is made up of mostly Lincoln and Lingleid counties. Democrat Elizabeth McCrank is looking to win the seat that has been held by only Republicans this century. McCrank is a former teacher, carpenter, and librarian, and current Lincoln County Board Supervisor. She said a big reason for running is her opponent's desire to sell the county-run nursing home without asking the public through a referendum first. McCrank said it comes from her philosophy of a government for the people, by the people, not just cutting services for lower taxes.
People don't move to places where there is a low tax environment. They move to places where there are good schools, good public transportation, good walking facilities, good quality of life. So if we want people to move here, we got to focus on good quality of life.
McCrank argues that more people are needed in her district for jobs and health care. She said she is hyper-focused on local needs like child care and elder care, including looking out for people who are helping aging relatives.
Because we're trying to keep people in their homes. That's where people like to be. And we need to focus on tax credits for those people who are giving their time and their resources to take care of other family members.
McCrank is running against Republican Calvin Callahan. He did not respond to an email or voicemail from WGFW requesting an interview. Halloween is just over a week away, and many parents are stacking up on candy. But it's important to make sure everyone has a safe holiday. Newswatch 12's Austin Caruso explains how you can keep your kids safe while out trick-or-treating.
Top priorities is that always have direct supervision of your child while trick-or-treating.
According to the National Safety Council, children are more than twice as likely to be hit by a car on Halloween than any other day of the year. This can raise many concerns for parents while their child is out trick-or-treating.
We would recommend is that they wear like highly visible reflective clothing, or they add lights or glow sticks to their costumes so that they stand out more.
Ritter also said that trick-or-treaters should not stop at homes that don't have the lights on.
It's just kind of courteous that those people are willing to participate, and then just be mindful that some homes that don't have lights on, they're maybe required not to have lights on.
Another important safety measure is for kids to have the candy they receive from trick-or-treating checked for any tampering with the original packaging.
I would shy away or refrain from accepting or keeping or ingesting any candy that was homemade and not in an original wrapper. If a wrapper is slightly torn or open, again, I would say when in doubt, just throw it out.
Thank you, Austin. Great tips. There's a new study about concussions. Coming up, we'll hear what they found happens right after someone gets a concussion after Weather with Chase, right here on Newswatch 12.
When a crane collapsed during construction of a Major League sports stadium, 3 workers lost their lives. Their widows called us. When maintenance workers were permanently injured by an industrial accident at a public utilities power plant, the 7 injured workers called us. When a factory exploded, injuring dozens of workers, 18 victims, including all 3 families of men who lost their lives, called us. Because Wisconsinites know who to call when it's a must-win scenario. They call Habish, and Rotier. National reputation, hometown service.
You have a clear choice in this election. Senator Baldwin is a 38-year career politician. I'm a businessman and job creator. She supports taxpayer benefits for illegal immigrants. I'll close the border. Tammy wants to put guys and girls sports in their bathrooms. I'll protect our daughters. Senator Baldwin abuses the political system. I'll fight the corruption. I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message. I'd be honored to have your vote.
Saturday, October 26th, the Wisconsin Department of Justice is holding a free prescription drug and sharps take-back event. If you have unused or unwanted medications, ointments, patches, non-aerosol sprays, inhalers, vials, or pet medication, clean out your medicine cabinets. Don't let your old medication fall into the wrong hands by disposing of the medications properly. For more information on locations and accepted items, go to doseofrealitywi.gov. This information is brought to you by the Human Service Center of Forest, Vilas, and Oneida County.
We all know what Eric Hovde's trying to do, falsely attacking Tammy Baldwin by questioning her personal life. And Eric Hovde's trying to scare you. The truth is, no sex change surgeries take place on minors in Wisconsin. 0. And Baldwin didn't give funding to a transgender clinic. It's actually a youth homeless shelter. Eric Hovde's a billionaire banker who thinks he can lie about anything. But Wisconsin's better than Eric Hovde.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
You wouldn't pour OJ this way, and you don't have to pour paint this way either. Try Dutch Boy Platinum Plus paint in the twist and pour container with a built-in spout. Easy to hold, open, and pour. Only at Menards. Dutch Boy paints make transforming your world easy.
When I was 5, I began getting sexually abused by my stepfather, and he got me pregnant when I was 12. "64,000 pregnancies from rape have occurred in states with total abortion bans. And Trump did this. Women and girls need to have choices. With Kamala Harris, we do."
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you're all having a great night out there and staying warm because it is a cold one out there for tonight with clear skies and calm winds. Temperatures right now in the low 30s, 32 here in town with a west wind right around 5 miles per hour. Dew points right now in those mid-20s, and the feels like is around 27 degrees, so definitely feeling pretty cold out there. High pressure is back, though, above that 30-inch mark. We'll be getting some warmer temperatures for tomorrow. For highs today, we're right around the mid-50s. That sun definitely helped us out a lot in the afternoon. We thought we were going to have lots of clouds for today, keeping us in those upper 40s, but the sunshine definitely helped us warm up around those mid-50s for today. Low 50s, though, a little bit more up north. We can see that in Ashland as well. There was some upper 40s by Ironwood. Other than that, temperatures rebounded pretty nice down in the southern viewing area. We can see upper 50s by Mosinee, even low 60s in Wausau. Saw that in Wisconsin Rapids and Wapaka as well. So it was a little bit warmer down south, but as we could see, that front did have a big change. We saw temperatures change within 22 degrees cooler within the last 24 hours. We can see that here in town. 29-degree change in Tomahawk and lots of 20s around the state from that front. So definitely a big change in temperatures, even though it didn't bring much rain from that front last night. Definitely getting those fall-like temperatures back into the area. But we're going to stay warm going into tomorrow, right around 60 degrees. We have another front coming tomorrow night, bringing some more rain, and we'll see those temperatures dip just a little bit more back into those mid-50s for Friday, low 50s for Saturday. Then they start climbing up with a nice warm-up again by Tuesday, back into those low 70s. Another front is then expected that night, so Wednesday we'll be back in the mid-50s for highs. All right, so as we can see right now outside, lots of clear skies. We do have calm winds going into tonight, so this temperature should drop into those upper 20s, but we do have that warm air making its way into the area as of right now, so temperatures going into the overnight to early morning hours will warm up a little bit, as we do have an increasing cloud cover for tomorrow as well, so that will kind of help us out. But for during the day, it will keep us a little bit cooler, right around 60 degrees, when we could get up to 65 without the clouds. But we're going to see lots of rain again going into tomorrow night. Here is our frontal system showing heavier rain down south, so not as much rain up in the Northwoods for us here in town, but still going to be a nice hefty rain with lots of cloud cover, and will cool us off going into Friday. But as you can see, those clouds do decrease, and we'll see lots of sunshine going into Friday afternoon and evening. For tonight, though, clear and calm. We're going to have a low right around 28 degrees with those clear skies, and then going into tomorrow, we'll have increasing cloud cover, and it's going to be a little bit breezy tomorrow with winds gusting around 20 miles per hour from from the southwest, but highs will be right around 60 degrees. And taking a look at your 7-day forecast brought to you by Northwoods Furniture and Mattress. This weekend will be a little bit cooler in those low 50s, upper 50s on Sunday with a warm up by Tuesday, but we do got some rain chances that'll cool us off back into those mid 50s by Wednesday. Jessica?
New research shows a common gesture could be a sign of a concussion. According to a study published Wednesday in the scientific journal Diagnostics, a quick shake of the head after a hard hit could signal a concussion. The movement is known as a spontaneous head shake after a kinematics event or shake. To better understand it, researchers surveyed hundreds of young adults who played a sport at a high school, college, or semi-professional level. They found the majority of the young athletes were familiar with the gesture and had experienced it themselves. The study authors said the formal recognition of shake as a sign of a concussion could help identify undiagnosed concussions. Northland Pines Soccer is the #1 seed in their boys soccer regional. Coming up, we'll hear from the Eagles as they prepare for a regional final matchup after the break.
My husband and I were elated to find out that we would be having another baby. But after many tests, my doctors agreed that we had to terminate the pregnancy. It was the worst day of my life. You should know that Eric Hovde supports laws that stop me and my doctor from making that decision. And that's a ban with no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. It's a ban that could turn doctors into criminals. He opposes abortion, period.
Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Spas. The Swim Spa Hot Tub and Sauna Show. This weekend only inside the Central Wisconsin Convention and Expo Center, Rothschild. Millions of inventory must be sold. Prices are slashed up to 60% off retail, so save thousands. Save big on new hot tub spas and saunas. Also cold tubs. Plus, see the Michael Phelps Signature Swim Spas by Master Spas.
Hi, I'm Michael Phelps. Join the swimming revolution.
The Swim Spa Hot Tub and Sauna Show. This weekend only inside the Central Wisconsin Convention and Expo Center, Rothschild. Visit 800spasale.com.
I'm sick and tired of getting ripped off by career politicians. And Tammy Baldwin, she's one of the worst. Baldwin's in bed with Wall Street. While she sleeps in her girlfriend's $1 million condo in New York City, Wisconsin families are getting hammered by high inflation and handouts for illegal immigrants. Tammy and her girlfriend are living large while Wisconsin families foot the bill. Frankly, it's time for Tammy Baldwin to go.
I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message. Join my team and give today.
Sue right, Jake middle, me on the left.
Yeah, I knew I'd win.
Are you saying
What's
something?
really happening over there?
I think you're on mute.
There's no substitute for real gaming fun. Go where fun lives. Old Chunk Gaming Wittenberg.
Have you heard Eric Hovde?
I am totally opposed to abortion.
I am totally opposed to politicians telling women what we can do.
Extremists all over the country have passed abortion bans.
Criminal penalties for doctors. No exceptions for rape or incest.
Women are dying just trying to get health care.
There are even restrictions in Wisconsin. This has to stop.
I am totally opposed to abortion.
We are totally opposed to Eric Hovde.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
Coming up on News Watch 12 today, we'll be joined by Nina Baum talking about dry-lit dog racing championships in the area.
Sounds like fun. There are some chances for rain on the way. More in tune in on your Thursday from 5 to 7 a.m.
Basketball season is upon us. The NBA has returned. The Milwaukee Bucks are ready to start out their season with a win. First up on their schedule, the Philadelphia 76ers on the road. Philly without former MVP Joel Embiid, who is still nursing a preseason knee injury. So let's see if the Bucks could go get a win in the city of brotherly love. Let's start in the first quarter. Welcome back, Giannis. He dishes to Taurean Prince right back to Giannis, and he's going to throw down the two-handed slam. He wasn't done there. Later in the quarter, he did it big with his dunking. Now he's going to show off the jumper a little bit. Couple dribble moves. He's going to pull up for the mid-range, and he is going to knock that one down. The Bucks, they would eventually blow this game open. A.J. Green off a steal. Bucks are on the fast break. Pat Connaughton going to find a cutting Giannis, who's going to throw this one down. The Bucks, they start the season 1-0. They win this one 124-109. The Northland Pines boys soccer team has put together one of the more impressive seasons in the state. A Division IV school in a conference of much larger schools, the Eagles have found themselves as a 1 seed in their playoff regional and have already punched their ticket to Saturday's WIAA regional final. The Northland Pines boys soccer team finds themselves in an unusual spot, playing in a regional final to open up the postseason. With a first-round bye and 9 days in between games, the Eagles are taking a conservative approach as Saturday awaits.
With our big break, we're just trying to stay on the field, keep everybody healthy, and, just all show up and be here. We can't take a day off, so.
Despite the high expectations, the Eagles don't seem to be feeling the playoff pressure. The mentality around this group is to treat the regionals like any other game this season.
Good strike. Yeah, we just look at it as another game and just go day by day. We don't know who's going to be next, and we just got to focus on that one game at a certain time.
The balance between staying healthy but not getting rusty is a tough beam to balance for a team in Pine Spot. The group is locked in on a drills-based light contact approach, yet playing every day to stay active ahead of Saturday.
Just constant practices, make sure we don't take days off. But like I said, not as much hard practices, so just make sure everyone keeps warm, but doesn't need to struggle in practice and get hurt.
With sectional and state aspirations in the back of their mind, the Eagles have one game that has their complete focus, the regional finals, with either Three Lakes or Barron standing in their way of sectionals.
We just got to focus on one game at a time. We can't be looking, farther down the stretch into the other games that we may face. We got to focus on the ones in front of us and win those first.
The Eagles have established themselves as one of the top teams in Division IV after a year that saw them finish second in the GNC. They enter the playoffs seeded first with lofty goals for the weeks to come.
Today, it's even harder for the middle class.
And Yiling Zhang will only make things worse. A government takeover of healthcare, eliminating private health insurance, defunding police. And career politician Zhang loves increasing your taxes. As supervisor and school board member, Zhang increased your property tax bill, all while increasing his own pay on your dime, too. Yiling Zhang's destructive policies are making things
even harder for the middle class.
Come on, Zhang is just wrong for Wausau.
There are trucks, and then there's the GMC Sierra, available with the connected driving experience and the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra. It's the truck. Get 0% APR on select 2024 Sierra 1500 models. That's over $6,400 total value, plus no monthly payments until next year.
Visit your North Central Wisconsin GMC dealer.
These Baldwin ads are nasty.
I can't stand them.
She never tells the truth. Now she says Eric Hovde wants to raise the retirement age.
That's malarkey.
I saw in the news Social Security will be going bankrupt in 8 years.
Are you kidding? We need Social Security.
You're surprised? Washington spends money like crazy.
And Baldwin supports all of it.
I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message.
You better get a job.
You get a job.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all-electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Choose FlexBuy on Escape and get 1.9% APR financing for 66 months plus $2,000 FlexBuy cash. Only at your local Wisconsin Ford dealer.
Once the scar tissue has formed,
It decreases mobility to the joint and you lose blood supply. This causes chronic pain.
It's non-invasive and you don't even feel it really. And I'm able to work out really good now without any pain at all.
Lasers can eradicate scar tissue, freeing the joint and giving you back your life.
Welcome to Washington, D.C. You got a bunch of loudmouth, preening politicians. It's absolute chaos. I'm Derek Van Orden, and after 26 years as a Navy SEAL, there's a few things that I learned. You stay on mission, you know what you're fighting for, and sometimes you gotta get a little dirty to finish the job. Let's go, kids. Not you. Not you. You. Let's go. I'm Derek Van Orden. I approve this message.
Welcome back. Rhinelander students are giving back to others for October. This month, FBLA DECA is hosting their food drive Trick or Can. The fundraiser began in 2012 as a community service initiative to challenge DECA chapters across Wisconsin. Today, over 60 chapters participated. Trick or Can is a team-building exercise that bonds FBLA DECA students. Rhinelander High School students participated in that today. Groups of 5 visited Rhinelander neighborhoods to hand out donation bags to residents. The bags included a flyer directing people to fill them up with non-perishable items that will be donated to the Rhinelander area food pantry. Chapter President Peyton McHugh is looking forward to helping his community.
It's kind of that sense of we're going around to each house as kind of like trick-or-treating, but then we're bringing it all right back here to really the people that need it in town. So I think it's a great way to just give back around a time where usually you're, kind of taking from other people all that candy.
While it is a door-to-door project, donors are also able to drop off canned foods at Rhinelander High School. Otherwise, students will be stopping by to pick up donations on October 30th to bring them packed to the Rhinelander Food Pantry. The organization hopes to beat their 2023 record of 766 donations.
The more and more you pick up, the better you feel, because, people really do care about in this community giving back. It's just a great thing that they all love to do, and it's all coming right back here to the food pantry, which is just helpful for the entire community.
The Rhinelander Area Food Pantry is always accepting money or food donations. They have a donation drop box located by their entrance if you'd like to donate. We'll be right back with the final check of the forecast.
We all know what Eric Hovde's trying to do, falsely attacking Tammy Baldwin by questioning her personal life. And Eric Hovde's trying to scare you. The truth is, no sex change surgeries take place on minors in Wisconsin. 0. And Baldwin didn't give funding to a transgender clinic. It's actually a youth homeless shelter. Eric Hovde's a billionaire banker who thinks he can lie about anything. But Wisconsin's better than Eric Hovde.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
My husband and I were elated to find out that we would be having another baby. But after many tests, my doctors agreed that we had to terminate the pregnancy. It was the worst day of my life. You should know that Eric Hovde supports laws that stop me and my doctor from making that decision. And that's a ban with no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. It's a ban that could turn doctors into criminals. He opposes abortion, period.
Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
It was a Christmas snowstorm. My whole leg swelled up. My doctor said to get to the ER immediately. Surgery went well, but then I got billed. I struggled with the VA bureaucracy for months. Then I called Tom Tiffany. 9 days later, the VA paid my bill. The doctor saved my leg, Tom saved me from medical debt, and he got me my veteran benefits when no one else could.
I'm Tom Tiffany, and I approve this message.
I love that my daughter still needs me, but sometimes I can't help due to burning and stabbing pain in my hands. So I use Nervive.
Nervive's clinical dose of ALA reduces nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days.
Now I can help again. Feel the difference with Nervive.
You've got a Pepto predicament, Ace. You overdid it on the loaded fries, and now your gut is in the gutter. Undo it with Pepto Fast Melts, so you can keep on rolling. When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto-Bismol.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden?
during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing? Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Donald Trump makes a lot of promises, but we can be sure of one thing. If he wins, he'll ignore all checks that rein in a president's power. It's all in Trump's Project 2025 agenda. What does that mean for you? Higher cost on groceries, cuts to Social Security and Medicare, more tax breaks for billionaires, and a national abortion ban putting women's health at risk. A second Trump term, more unhinged, unstable, and unchecked.
Live real estate auction, Hiles, Wisconsin, November 2nd. Beautiful home with 150 feet of sandy frontage on Pine Lake, selling regardless of price. Colonel Renee Brass and St. Louis Auctions.
Welcome back, everybody. For tomorrow, we're going to have a little bit warmer temperatures in the area, but we will have to deal with a little bit of rain again for tomorrow night. We can see temperatures for tomorrow being right around 60 degrees with increasing cloud cover, especially in our area. We're going to see that down south as well. They'll be in the low to mid 60s, especially by Adams County. But as we take a look at that future forecast, here's that rain coming right around midnight for tomorrow with that increasing cloud cover throughout the afternoon. Looks like a little bit more rain than we got last night, so it'll be in store for a good amount of rain. But as we go into the 7-day forecast, sun will come back out again Friday with mid-50s. See that into Saturday as well, some lower temperatures in the low 50s, but then we're going to warm up at the Tuesday with a high right around 72.
Well, as long as there's no rain for Friday Night Blitz, I'm sure Drew will be
There's still
happy
170 hanging around.
I know.
Somehow.
Just wants to stay. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night.
25 years as a police officer, I'm trained to spot a lie when I see one.
Take it from me, these ads against Rebecca Cook are false.
They're not worth the special interest dollars that are funding them.
Rebecca's one of us.
She comes from a family of first responders and veterans.
She's a strong supporter of more funding for law enforcement.
She'd never defund the police.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and I approve this message because I'll always put safety first.
And Derek Van Orden just puts himself first.
I'm sick and tired of getting ripped off by career politicians. And Tammy Baldwin, she's one of the worst. Baldwin's in bed with Wall Street. While she sleeps in her girlfriend's $1 million condo in New York City, Wisconsin families are getting hammered by high inflation and handouts for illegal immigrants. Tammy and her girlfriend are living large while Wisconsin families foot the bill. Frankly, it's time for Tammy Baldwin to go.
I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message. Join my team and give today.
Get an 11% rebate and all Mohawk flooring now at Menards. Mohawk builds quality into every product. From easy-to-install sheet vinyl, durable laminate flooring, and luxurious carpet. With so many styles to choose from, Mohawk has the perfect flooring for you. Get Engage sheet vinyl for just 69 cents a square foot after rebate. Or pick up Solutions waterproof laminate flooring for $2.39 per square foot after rebate now at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
I became a doctor to help people. But for the drug insurance companies, it's all about making money. And to keep making money, they donate millions to career politicians. Pat Snyder is one of them. Snyder voted their way in the assembly against covering patients with pre-existing conditions and against a plan that would lower prescription costs. He is different.
Drug and insurance companies have career politicians fighting for them. In the assembly, I'll fight for you.
Who does Derek Van Orden think he is? This guy who reportedly shouted at kids in the U.S. Capitol? I don't give a who you are. I'm a congressman.
Derek Van Orden doesn't care about making our lives better. He'd make Wisconsinites pay just to give huge tax cuts to corporations and the wealthy. Van Orden even sides with extremists who tried to cut Social Security. Wisconsin deserves better, and Derek Van Orden does not belong in Congress.
HMP is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and like most folks in Wisconsin, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Oh, please. Don't be fooled by Rebecca Cook. She made her living trying to elect Democrat extremists. Cook proudly supported radicals who want to defund police, end cash bail, and throw open the border. No wonder extremists like AOC are spending big bucks to elect liberals like Cook. Rebecca Cook, just another liberal trying to fool you. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We all know what Eric Hovde's trying to do. Falsely attacking Tammy Baldwin by questioning her personal life. And Eric Hovde's trying to scare you. The truth is, no sex change surgeries take place on minors in Wisconsin. 0. And Baldwin didn't give funding to a transgender clinic. It's actually a youth homeless shelter. Eric Hovde's a billionaire banker who thinks he can lie about anything. But Wisconsin's better than Eric Hovde.